It's been a couple of months since Dragon Ball Daima officially started airing, and even though I'm thoroughly enjoying the series, it seems that not a lot of people have been able to jump on board just yet. Let's discuss the current state of the anime and what could happen in the future. So Dragon Ball might be in a bit of trouble. Let's finally talk about this, y'all. Dragon Ball Daima's viewership, okay? I want to say massive shoutouts to Totally Not Mark for actually posting this. He made a really good, insightful video on the current state of Dragon Ball Daima and the popularity of it right now among the anime community and Dragon Ball fans in general. I implore you guys to watch his entire video. I went through and rewatched everything again just to get a good refresher on everything, and I want to give my thoughts and opinions on the whole situation with it and how people are reacting to Dragon Ball Daima overall, okay? We're about 8 episodes in, and I would say that most recent episode with episode 8, that kind of got a lot more people on board with it. But right now, Dragon Ball Daima is just not doing the numbers that, for example, Dragon Ball Super did or previous Dragon Ball titles have done, okay? With the exception of GT. But Dragon Ball Daima, it's kind of in a weird spot right now just because it's still, I would say, pretty early on. It's been airing for about 2 months now. And it aired alongside the release of Sparking Zero. So you would think that there's like a lot of hype with Dragon Ball right now, right? Hopefully, I wish. Nah, it's not really. Not as much as you would think, okay? And I'm not saying that Dragon Ball Daima is doing bad or it's like super, poor ratings or anything. And we'll go over all the stats and the information that was presented in his video. But he stated that Dragon Ball Daima's viewership is not great, okay? After digging, he realized that it never stood a chance. You might think it's just the marketing, but there's even more behind Daima's middling performance than I ever thought. I made a short video explaining the craziness. So again, you can watch the full video on your own. I'm just going to kind of summarize some things. He brought in somebody who has like actual stats on everything. So I'll be actually presenting some stats here from like IMDb or, for example, my anime list. Now, keep in mind, these are just public things. It's not, going to be super accurate or anything. But from what the person that, actually views social media engagement and everything that was presented in his video, what he said was that Dandadan is currently ranked at number 1. Which makes sense, okay? If you guys don't know what Dandadan is, or if you haven't been keeping up with any of the most, like, super popular anime, Dandadan is definitely the probably anime of the year. It might just be, right? I've been watching all of it. There are, I think, about like 8 or 9 episodes in as well, and it's really good. I think it's kind of like I don't want to say the next JJK, but like for 2024, it's kind of like the JJK. It's like the one that everybody's talking about. If you're a fan of anime or you're trying to get into anime, you want something new for the fall of 2024, Dandadan is 100% number 1. The people that I follow on Twitter that, watch a lot of anime or at least discuss a lot of anime, they're always talking about it every single week, and they talk about it almost like every single day, okay? Bleach, for example, is doing double the social media engagement compared to Daima, okay? About double of the amount that Daima is getting. And even then, Bleach is not doing the best, okay? Right now, Daima is currently ranked number 5 among the like overall just like anime discussion, social media engagement, just kind of everything, okay? Again, these are all the stats that were presented in Totally Not Mark's video. Again, go watch that if you haven't already, right? So he also stated that only 40 to 50% of anime fans were aware that Daima was even coming out. Okay, this was in September before Daima aired. So promotional aspect, okay, promotion and advertisement has been a big thing that has hurt the series, in my opinion. In terms of promotion, I think since last year in 2023, we've gotten only, I want to say 3, maybe 4 trailers. I could be wrong about that, but it hasn't been enough to, really get people into it, okay? For example, like Dandadan, right? That anime and that series, like as a manga as a whole or whatever, it didn't really need like a super amount of promotion, okay? A lot of people were already on board with it because they kind of already knew what to expect. Again, Dragon Ball Daima doesn't have any manga. There's no material out there. We're like in uncharted territory, okay? Nobody knows what the final goal or anything about, like, they can't predict what's going to happen in this series, which is a good thing, I mean, in my opinion, just because it's like, it's going to be special. It's something we've never seen before. but at the same time, it kind of is because it's kind of like GT, right? I don't want to say it's exactly like GT at all, but a lot of the, you know, concepts and ideas are kind of from GT, okay? Goku turning into a kid again, but instead they all turn into kids, okay? They go on an adventure. And that's another thing that's kind of hurting this series. And again, I don't like to say this, but a lot of Dragon Ball fans, when it comes to the like mainstream or like the general anime fan type of, you know, region, they want battles in new forms, okay? And this is coming from somebody who makes content on Dragon Ball daily. If I make a video talking about, for example, Dragon Ball Daima, right? It's probably not going to do numbers compared to me saying, oh, I'm, you know, new Sparking Zero, you know, DLC character transformation or something like that. You know what I mean? Like a video talking about a new form, Ultra Ego, Black Frieza, or like a new fusion. Oh, Gogeta is canon now, right? That's what's going to do like numbers. Okay. That's what's going to get people hyped and excited to watch this thing. Okay. Even if they've done it a million times, people, they love it, right? And that's why when Dragon Ball Superhero came out, people didn't really know much about it. They're like, you know, it's just, okay, it's Gohan and Piccolo, you know, it's not Goku and Vegeta. So you would think that a lot of people weren't really going to get on board. But then they probably saw, oh, Gohan's getting a new form. Piccolo's getting a new form, okay? This movie actually has really, really good fight scenes and everything. I got to jump on board. And then it ended up getting traction, and a lot of people were down to watch it, okay? So the fact that Goku, Vegeta, and friends and everybody are turned into kids, an idea that we've already seen with GT, which GT already, you know, didn't do great, especially that very first arc where, again, it's an adventure aspect, and that's currently what Dragon Ball Daima is going through right now. And again, there are still fights, okay? There's still exciting things about this, and that's why I implore a lot of you to watch Dragon Ball Daima, okay? Get on it right now with that most recent episode 8 versus the Tamagami that he did. That fight was amazing, okay? The animation was beautiful, and I need y'all to get on this. If you're not on board with Dragon Ball Daima, this is the best time to do it, because we're 8 episodes in, things are picking up, right? So, yeah, I think the turning in the kids, the chibi stuff, okay? People, they're not really on board with it, especially when it comes to Dragon Ball. So, that's also hurting it, right? So far we have lack of promotion, the GT type of idea with the turning in the kids again, more adventure type of aspect to it, okay? Because there's no new forms yet, or new fusions, or crazy battles, which there are some good battles. Again, I think that they're fantastic. But again, if it's not like Dragon Ball Super Broly or like the crazy fights that we had in Superhero, it's, you know, it's not really appealing super hard to the main general audience of Dragon Ball fans, okay? I think somebody like me who, you know, has enjoyed at least all of Dragon Ball and started with Dragon Ball Z and had to go back and watch even OG Dragon Ball, okay? And then I ended up watching GT, and then I followed Dragon Ball throughout its entire existence, right? It's crazy to think that, you know, not many people want to jump on board with this, but at the same time, I kind of understand why, just because a lot of people, they either grew up with Z or they grew up with Dragon Ball Super, okay? I rarely see a lot of people start with OG Dragon Ball, unless somebody recommends it to them, okay, and says like, okay, if you're gonna watch Dragon Ball, you gotta watch it like this. Watch OG Dragon Ball, which makes sense, right? Obviously, you would think that most people would do that, but a lot of people, like in my friend group, family group, you know, people that I've seen online, most people either started with Dragon Ball Z, or if you're a kid in the more modern era of Dragon Ball, you started with Dragon Ball Super, went back and maybe rewatched Z, and then like OG Dragon Ball, it's like, unfortunately, like at the bottom, maybe around with GT, okay? And again, I hate to say that, but it's kind of the truth from, you know, what you see generally online, and from, you know, you could even ask people that maybe are into anime, what did they start with, okay? It's probably Z, or it's probably, you know, Dragon Ball Super, right? So, yeah, the English dub is another problem, and I would say this is really hurting it, okay? And that's the thing, it's like, it's not just like, oh, okay, like one thing is causing this. No, I think there's just several contributing factors, okay? So a lack of an English dub, which they did have the world English dub premiere, which lasted 3 days in theaters, okay? I went to 2 different showings for it. The first one got fucked up for some reason. I have no idea what happened, so I didn't get to watch it. But the second time I went, I did. Both times that I went, it was not like a full theater. honestly, it was like one row that was like 5 people out of maybe like 10 or like 15 seats, right? And that was it. Which again, understandable. Not many people even knew, or like again, 40 to 50% of anime fans were aware that Daima was even coming out, okay? But this was in English. It had full English dub, so it wasn't the subbed version or anything. But even then, it still didn't do great. And when I went to see Superhero, even that movie didn't do like super great in terms of like the attendance of people in theaters. Broly did a little bit better in my opinion, but I think that was just because it was more riding off of the hype of, you know, Dragon Ball Super with the Tournament of Power and everything. And obviously Broly, the Broly movie was just more exciting for people. It was something that it was more enticing. More people were down to watch something like that compared to, unfortunately, Daima, okay? So I do think when we get the actual English dub, you know, starting to come out weekly and be more caught up, that will help it a bit. Not a ton, but I think it'll definitely help because more people, I would say, want to watch Dragon Ball. Again, this is general audience, okay? General anime fans and stuff. More people like Dragon Ball in the dub. Okay, I'm not saying that the sub is bad or anything. I've been watching every single episode in the sub, okay? And the dub that I did see was very good, but I don't mind watching either or. Like, I could watch both or, you know, one or the other. Like, no problem with me. I just want to watch Dragon Ball, okay? That's just me, though, right? And some of you could definitely agree with me on that. But a lot of people, when it comes to, if you're going to watch an anime in the dub, I would say Dragon Ball is like, it's probably top 5. People love the dub. Okay, a lot of people started with the dub, right? Again, it's the same aspect. A lot of people who started watching Dragon Ball Super, okay, they probably waited for a dub to come. And for me, for example, Dragon Ball Super, I didn't start getting into it until the Goku Black Saga. As crazy as that is, I saw the very first episode of Dragon Ball Super, I think when it aired in like, what is it, like 2015 or something? And I enjoyed that first episode just because it's like, oh, okay, you know, Dragon Ball is coming back, right? But then I just stopped watching from there, okay? And that's kind of similar to a Daima. Okay, the very first episode of Daima absolutely did well. Like, people, you know, if you were a fan of anime or you're a fan of Dragon Ball, okay, most people jumped onto it, and it was kind of similar to how Sparking Zero was, okay? For the first couple of weeks of Sparking Zero being out, everybody was playing this shit. It was crazy. It had like over 120,000 people on SteamDB, and definitely even more than that. And then after a couple of weeks, a few weeks to a month, you know, a big dip. 80 to 90% of players, you know, decreased. But again, that's just because when something is new and shiny, everybody gets onto it, and then you eventually move on, okay? And Dragon Ball Daima, again, it's still going on, and it's getting better and better and better, but it's just because it's that first episode, everybody's going to check it out and see what it's about and everything. And unfortunately, the very first episode of Daima wasn't really something that was super appealing to a lot of anime fans or people who are into Dragon Ball. Again, they want to see the crazy fights and new transformations and shit, okay? It's sad to say, but Dragon Ball has kind of become that, and I'm really hoping that Daima changes that and turns it around for a lot of people, and I'm glad that they're doing this series because it is something different, okay? For me, it's like a breath of fresh air, right? I love Dragon Ball Super. I want Dragon Ball Super to come back and return and, you know, absolutely, you know, kick ass with Granola, Black Frieza, and the Moro Saga, right? And eventually I think we'll get that. But it's kind of nice to take a break from that and go for something that's more akin to how the OG series was, right? About Goku going on an adventure, you know, getting the Dragon Balls, fighting the Red Ribbon Army, you know, stuff like that. Unfortunately, it's just not super popular with the fans, okay? So again, I think this is a good tweet when it comes to how Dragon Ball fans are. Again, it's not, you know, this person does not speak for everyone, okay? They stated 90% of DB fans on this app skipped OG DB and started Dragon Ball with Dragon Ball Z, and that's why they don't really like Daima. Most Dragon Ball fans on this app only care about fights and new forms. Again, I kind of agree with that, right? I promise you, if someone gets a new form or Super Saiyan 4 gets canonized, they will start saying Daima is so good, right? And I haven't really seen anybody say that Daima is like bad or anything. I think I've heard criticism for the pacing. It's kind of slow. Again, we're about 8 episodes in for a series that is not confirmed, I don't think, but I think people are thinking it's going to be around like 20, maybe 30 episodes. It could be shorter or longer than that. Okay, maybe not shorter, but I think it could definitely be longer than that. no confirmation, right? I haven't seen anybody confirm that. I've seen some general like websites or even like some of like the Spanish pages saying like, oh, it's going to be like 24 episodes or something like that. But again, we're 8 episodes in, fought the Tamagami, got the very first Dragon Ball in the Demon Realm. Things are picking up. We're actually doing shit right. Okay, we're doing shit right now. And it's been great, right? Again, watch Dragon Ball Daima. It's really good right now, and I think it's just going to get better. Ever since episode 1, it's just been improving and getting better and better. But I will have to say they're kind of speaking the truth and speaking facts. Again, not speaking for everyone, but this makes a lot of sense, okay? From what I've seen, from what I just recently discussed earlier in the video, most people unfortunately skipped OGDB. They started with Z, or if they're younger, they started with Dragon Ball Super, or they got into it with Super. Let me give you guys a good example of somebody that I don't really talk to as much, but we both like Dragon Ball, okay? This person, he said that he got his son into Dragon Ball through Dragon Ball Z. When I heard that, I was like, why didn't they start with Dragon Ball OG Dragon Ball, right? But again, I thought about it, and I was like, most people who live in America, at least, Dragon Ball Z is where it begins for them. And then if they really like it, they'll go back to OG Dragon Ball, okay? It's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just, I don't want to say it's a fact, but it's just what I see all the time when it comes to people who are Dragon Ball fans or getting into Dragon Ball. They're always starting with Z. And again, for the modern era, it could be Dragon Ball Super, and that's what people grew up with, right? And then when they see Daima, they're like, this ain't Super. What is this? Like, where are the God Key forms? Where's other universes and then the Gods of Destruction? What happened, right? People who started with Dragon Ball Super, they're very confused. They're like, I don't really have an interest in watching this, right? You have to really, really love Dragon Ball to want to have that desire to start Daima, okay? As sad as it sounds, right? So lastly, let's just kind of go over some of the stats with where Dragon Ball Daima is falling, okay? This is just my anime list. This doesn't, fully reflect super accurate information here, but we kind of went over that earlier in the video, and again, stuff kind of falling into place with it, right? There's definitely a match, okay? Danadan, again, number 1, right? Scrolling down here, Bleach, right here, probably at number 5, okay? Makes sense. We got Blue Box, number 6, which that's a, really, really popular, anticipated romance, anime for those of you that are into that, right? Danmachi, right? I can't believe that's still going on, right? I remember playing the game on Danmachi. I definitely want to start that, though, because I've heard some good things about it. But yeah, I'm scrolling down. Ranma, okay? The remake of that. Very popular, okay? The OG, original anime was very popular, and the fact that it got kind of like a reboot, remake type of thing, people were down for it. And then falling behind that, that's where Dragon Ball Daima lies, okay? And I would say this is kind of more on a collection of the fall of 2024 ranking for not only the amount of people watching, but also kind of the rating of it. Dragon Ball Daima, from what I've seen across, like, IMDb and my anime list and like other things, Daima has been kind of around like a 7 to an 8 in terms of like what they're giving it for a rating, which again, you can agree or disagree with that. That's just generally what's being shown on here. But if you go on the stats here, 50,000 people, this is, again, just on my anime list, okay? This doesn't reflect the entire world for everything, right? But it's just what is shown on here, okay? 50,000 people are actually watching this, okay? 1,000 people have dropped it. About 1,000 people are kind of on hold. They're like, on the fence about it. There are 31,000 people that plan to watch it, okay? Which that's a lot, right? And I think one of the main reasons for that is either they're waiting for it to finish up so that they can binge it, because a lot of people do that, including myself. Daima is the exception. A Dragon Ball anime would be the exception for me because I want to watch it as it's going on. But yeah, 31,000. They're also probably waiting for the dub. So that just gives you a really, really good idea kind of what's going on with the viewership and how many people are either on the fence or they have a desire to jump on board with it, but they're not entirely there yet because there are a couple of things. Again, probably waiting for a dub, or they're just waiting for it to complete so that they can binge the entire however many episodes, 20, maybe 30 episodes, right? So yeah, it's very interesting to see this type of stuff. At the end of the day, I totally agree with totally not Mark, no pun intended. But yeah, I agree with him that Daima is not doing amazing for Dragon Ball standards, like compared to Dragon Ball Super, for example. But I don't think it's doing bad necessarily. I think it's doing good. I think it's doing all right. Okay. I think things will start to pick up more once we start progressing more in the story. Crazier fights happen, and I'm just gonna say it right now. There's no confirmation. I don't have any leaks or anything, but I'm pretty confident there's gonna be some type of new transformation or new fusion or new hype factor to it that will get people on board. Okay. Every main Dragon Ball, series or movie or piece of media that has come out in the most recent years, I would say at least within the past, 8 years, there's always been some type of new shiny toy, okay? Either a new transformation, a new fusion, or something like that gets people super hyped about the series, okay? And with Akio Iyoku still kind of in charge, he's the reason Gohan was in the superhero movie. He's the reason Broly returned in a movie, right? He knows what Dragon Ball fans want, a lot of people want, and it's going to be the hype shit. So I would not put it past, Daima for it doing something crazy kind of near the end of the series, right? We'll see what happens, but you guys give me your thoughts and opinions about how you're enjoying Daima. Is it interesting to you? Are you even watching it? Definitely comment down below. I'd like to see the feedback of what's going on with the series right now, at least for my audience and the people that watch my content, okay? At the end of the day, I'm just going to say it right now, please watch Dragon Ball Daima. I think it's great. It's getting better and better with every single episode, and you're missing out, okay? I think if you like Dragon Ball, you're definitely missing out because the animation is some of the best we've ever seen, okay? Fight choreography, some of the best we've ever seen in Dragon Ball in a long ass time. See you guys next time. Drop a like, subscribe here on the channel, ring my notification bell. Peace out.
This is Broly, and you are watching SLOplays. Make sure to subscribe, or else I'll destroy your entire planet.